All right, I am here with Drake Riggs, the resident MMA expert, especially when it comes to women's MMA, I might add. He's very in tune with that women's MMA, which is ironic because I'm not, and I am the woman. But so I'm gonna lean heavily here on Drake with some of these pronunciations. We are revealing our FanSided 32 woman bracket, which at the end will crown the women's MMA GOAT. And I think we don't have to say the name, but I think we all kind of know who's going to win. But I'm curious to see kind of who makes it towards the end. And that's going to be kind of fun and see kind of the rankings of who the fans think anyways. And you never know. So some cool, wild things could happen, right?
Yeah, we could get some surprises. I think you never know with the MMA community.
That's true.
So certain
So,
fan bases are stronger than others. Let's put it that way.
yeah, and we were just talking off air that our male MMA bracket had some surprises, just solely based on fans kind of saying we don't want this person to win. Let's vote for the other person, even if they felt like the other person deserved it. It was sort of a fans bullying and getting their guy in, the other guy
There's
in.
always popularity involved.
Yeah, it's definitely a popularity contest. And everybody's definition of GOAT is different,
Yeah.
what you consider a GOAT, like, especially, we're talking about John Jones being voted out of the GOAT bracket in our last thing. And I think a lot of that had to do with obviously his recent issues, but personality wise, and some people aren't going to care about that when it comes to voting for GOAT, and other people think it should be included. So it's always interesting. What do you think, by the way? Do you think you should consider outside antics as well as inside?
In terms of the GOAT conversation, I don't think so. So like with Jones, for example, like his, crimes that he's committed and all those things. No, but for me, I have to consider the PED usage,
Yeah.
right? So like personally, that disqualifies him and Silva immediately for me in the GOAT conversations. I understand how people, can include it still because they still did great things, but it's just that's a big deal, right? When you don't know everyone else that they've gone against and all the other people in the GOAT conversation. So for me, criminal activity and stuff, obviously that's not a good thing, right? But it shouldn't
Sure.
affect, how talented of fighters they are. But if it's performance enhancing drug type stuff, then that's a little bit different, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
I definitely agree with you there. I think that it definitely, the legal stuff makes it hard for me to vote for somebody, but I
Yeah.
would completely X them out. But yeah, for sure,
Hmm.
the performance enhancing stuff. So let's get to this. Like I said, I'm going to need help pronouncing some names, and already in this first one. So obviously Gina Carano, and she's going to go up against, and this is, do you have the name there?
Yes. So he hum.
Say that one more time slowly.
So he hum, rising atomweight champion at the moment.
Okay, so we have a past fighter and a current fighter. So that's going to be interesting too, because we have that recency bias. But do you think that I'm sorry, I already can't pronounce her name. The
Just say
other
ham.
one, the other one,
Ham. You could say
yeah.
ham.
Do you think she's going to get the recency bias? Because I don't think that she's as well known as Gina Carano. So in that case, the recency bias may not really apply.
I think that she's one of the more popular Asian fighters, actually, because she did have that brief stint in the UFC. I don't know if you remember when she was at strawweight,
Mm.
went 1-3, didn't work out so well, but her atomweight career is, phenomenal. That's what she's best, where she's been her best. But yeah, I don't think it'll be enough, not well known enough to beat someone like Gina. I think she's had a much better career, overall. Gina, I don't want to, say things too much, but a little bit overrated in terms of her actual career. I mean, obviously, what her impact was huge, but
Yeah.
when you look at what she did, it wasn't, too much. And Ham's very underrated as well, and she's won a lot of titles, a longer career overall, but popularity wise, Gina's probably going to go a lot farther than she should in this thing. So
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. And if you look just at her record, Ham is 23-8, I believe, and Gina is 7-1. So I mean, the length of the career is very
and
telling.
then the quality of competition too is
Right,
big.
right. All right, our second matchup is Joanna Jędrzejczyk, which I did not need you to pronounce, and Julie Kedzie. And I'm curious what you think about these two.
Well, I mean, this one's pretty cut and dry.
For you, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, Julie Kedzie, obviously a pioneer and everything, but she was kind of one of those fighters, kind of a gatekeeper, couldn't quite win the fight that would take her to the next level. But we saw the potential there. Like a good example is the Misha Tate fight after Misha just lost to Ronda. and Kedzie was winning that fight, and then Misha pulled the crazy wild comeback there in the third round. So she obviously a very skilled fighter. She also fought Carano, but Joanna's just accomplished so much more, and she's more popular as well. So I think that should be pretty. It might be closer than just looking at it, because Kedzie does have a good following for being a commentator too. People know her for that. But this is about fighting specifically. Who's been a better fighter throughout their career. So I guess it is a little more interesting when I look at it deeper. But
Well, I think about too, like we were talking about in the last one, where fans can kind of get behind somebody, and if they share it enough, it can really push them ahead. And I feel
yeah,
like if Julie shared this, that could be a landslide, because Michael
yeah,
Bisping shared something one time and he won. I think we did
easy.
we did a poll one time and he shared it and he won like 90% of the vote just because he shared it. And I feel like it's more likely that Julie will share this than Joanna will share this. So I don't know. Let's test it. Let's see if she shares it and how it goes.
If Joanna shares it, it'll be on Instagram, and if that happens, it's easy.
That's
It's
true.
game over.
And
Good
then
point, though. Could you imagine if Julie does pull it off?
I know you never know. You never know. Next we have Ronda Rousey versus Rosie Sexton.
Similar situation to that
Yeah.
last one.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, clearly, I think Rhonda's gonna take this one in the vote. But again, I mean, right now she's really not popular with
That
the
is true.
fans.
But
So,
if she was going against someone else, maybe, because Rosie, I think she's not as well known to a lot of people either. The more hardcore guys who have been following for a long time will remember her. But yeah, that might be the most clear victory. Looking down the whole line here. Well,
yeah,
maybe except for the last one. I think the last one will be pretty easy.
yeah, that's
Um,
true.
so, but yeah, that one's pretty clear too.
We'll skip ahead then. We don't need to spend too much time on Rhonda. And then we got Marlos Kunin, and here's another one I'm gonna need help with.
Yuka Tsuji.
Suji. Okay, I knew the first name, Yuka Suji. Okay, and their records are pretty similar, 23-8 and 24-3. So what do you think about that? I mean, do you think again it's going to be like a name familiarity? I can't speak today.
Yeah, this one, should be Kunin, but Suji very, very underrated and pretty unknown, just because I'm pretty sure her entire career was spent in Japan, but she did great things over there. It's just the exposure kind of thing, right? She's only known in that one pocket of the world. Like a lot of people really aren't going to know who she is, except for those who have been following specifically, like the women's fighters for a long time, because there was that time where it was all about Fuji and Suji. Fuji and Suji. It sounds fun. But yeah, Marla, she's just done it all over the world, and she's won bigger titles and bigger promotions. She's just been out there more, and established more of her legacy and all that with a wider audience, which should be able to get her the win here. And I wouldn't be too mad at it. I think Suji's definitely a very overlooked fighter on when it comes to careers and all that. But yeah, you got to edge it to Kunin, I think.
Do you think that most of the Asian fighters are going to have a hard time with this voting, just in general? I know we've got one in here that I think.
I would say, I mean, yes, but it's another thing. Like if they happen to see this, if some Japanese fighters happen to see it, because Twitter in Japan is huge. Like I don't
Yeah,
know if people realize it's like the biggest, most used social media platform that they have. Um, and so if people can kind of see it and get it out there, I mean, there's so much respect that they all have for each other that it could really take off. But it's just a matter of if they see it, and
yeah.
it's kind of 50-50 in that regard. So it's possible for sure, but I don't know. It's a coin flip.
We're gonna have to see, I guess. This is interesting. I'm curious to see what kind of
with
decision.
with the more notable Japanese fighters, I think they will definitely have a better likelihood of that one.
Yeah.
So, as we go down here,
And then we've got Valentina Shevchenko and Barb. I always say her last name or Honchak.
on
Honchak.
Jack,
Yeah,
yes.
close. I feel like, I mean, for me, this is an easy one, but let's hear your.
I mean, this one, I like that these ended up against each other, because this is the battle of the current flyweight era versus the old flyweight era, the first number one versus the current number one. So it's really cool in that regard. But Barb's obviously going to lose.
I know.
as
Right?
as much of a mark that she left in that division, and the pioneership that she had to, a very good and underrated fighter as well, who deserves a lot more praise. But yeah, she's it's just, the eras.
Yeah,
Shevchenko's going to take.
and I think a defending, a current reigning defending champion is going to be hard to beat anyways, because
Yeah.
they've got no losses that recent, so
Mhm.
that's gonna help her. All right, we've got Megumi Fuji. Did I say that correct?
Yes. Even though
Versus
I've heard Fuji because of the two
oh,
eyes, so it's one of those.
oh, okay, well, close enough. You knew who
Yeah.
I'm talking about. And Roxanne Modafari. I say it wrong every time too. I'm really bad. I can never be an announcer. Let me put it this way. I'd be
I
like,
always
"Hey, how do you say your name? Oh yeah, that one." You're really bad at it too. We're the worst two people.
I like to make sure.
Yeah, and it's difficult too. I feel like it's such a respect thing to have somebody's name pronounced correctly, and so I always like second guess myself as it's coming out of my mouth, and then I make it worse.
Yeah.
Anyways, so what do you
It's
how do you feel
serious.
about this one?
So I think that this one actually is going to be pretty close. But in reality, Fuji, she's, you know, top four, top five easily, I think, when it comes to greatest female fighters. And a lot of people would agree. Some people still even think she's the best ever, which, respect to that opinion. It's just kind of an era thing also with her and where you put her actually. But in terms of who will win in this tournament and all that in this first round, Roxy's got a huge following too. And speaking of, the Japanese following prior to this matchup, if anybody's going to get that from the Japanese Twitter fans and all that, it's going to be Fuji. Like, that's a much better chance for her to hear her here to run away with that.
Yeah,
But man, with Roxy's fan base too, I think it's going to be pretty close actually.
yeah,
But
I do too. I really do. I
yeah,
think that'll be an
I
exciting one.
could I could see Roxy pulling it off and a lot of angry people.
And I hope that Roxy sees it too, because I feel like would be the type to have fun with it.
And
And
I
I
think
feel
that
like
she would want Fuji to win.
that's exactly what I was gonna say. She would probably share it and be like, "Don't vote for me."
Yeah,
And I think it was somebody
exactly.
else. It was Ong La Song who did the same thing. He
Yes,
tweeted
yeah.
like, "Don't I don't have any business being in this bracket." Like
Yep.
that was rad, and that made me be like, "That's why you deserve to be in this bracket." I
Hmm.
love him, and he
Yeah.
personally is one of my personal favorites. I know I got in trouble.
Yeah, he's awesome. That's a good one though. I'm really interested to see how that goes.
Yeah, and then we've got Angela Lee and Jennifer Maya, and I've got a personal favorite here, which is Angela Lee. Um, I just think that again, she's like a pioneer, it's what she's done for the crossover Asian American, all this stuff, and bringing fans to one championship, and I mean, just she's just a really freaking nice girl too. Like I'm gonna vote for Angela Lee. I'm not pretending here.
Yeah. Yeah, Angela. I mean, I think, there's so many fighters on here. I'm going to say that everybody's underrated because really a lot of people don't get, the proper recognition that they deserve, I think. But yeah, Angela Lee, she's one of those people who it's just incredible kind of what she's done so soon, and like she's only 23 and already
Yeah,
accomplished so much. Like she's the real youngest champion, people. Like for
right.
everybody
Yeah,
out there listening who doesn't know, 19 years old. Sorry Jones and Macy Barber. It's
yeah,
sorry. Good luck beating that one. Um yeah, I think this one is actually going to be one of the more lopsided ones. Not that Jennifer Maya shouldn't be, pretty close, but yeah, Angela Lee, there's still so much more for her to be done too, which shouldn't play a part in it, but she's already done so much in such a
right,
short amount of time, which is incredible.
right. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And then we've got Amanda Nunez and Julia Budd, and I feel like, come on,
It's an unfortunate landing spot for Bud.
yeah, yeah. I
So
think we all know that Amanda is going to end up in the end, at least in the top two, if not the
yeah,
winner.
yeah, not much to say about that one because it's
Moving along. And then we've got Misha Tate and Claudia Gadea. I'm curious what you think about this matchup.
I mean, this one I think is also kind of one that's pretty clear too. I don't think I think people have kind of gained more respect for Misha after her career, honestly. Just kind of because how she's just kind of done things her own way, going to one and all that, and just I don't know. She's never seemed like a company woman, which people kind of respect that kind of thing, even though she is going to work for, a company
Yeah,
like that. But you know what I mean? Like where she's been, it's kind of been whatever's in her best interest, which, you got to respect that. And then as for being a fighter, she left a great legacy and, Claudia's still doing her thing, but I don't know. It's just one of those things where there's more to Misha, right? And while Claudia's still kind of working on things. So
Mhm. Yeah, I
yeah.
think, yeah, I agree. I agree with that. And then we've got Holly Holm and Tanya Evinger. And I feel like Holly is going to take that one solely because of her defeat of Ronda Rousey. I mean, that to me, that's the reason she's on this list.
I mean, if you take that away, take that out of her career, it's really a lot different, like the
Yeah.
quality of it. And I think that this is a very interesting, matchup between the two, but obviously Holly's going to win this one easily. Um, if it was a couple years ago, maybe then Evinger would have a good chance because her fan base got pretty big at a point. But yeah, I mean, she was a good champion too, Tanya, when she was on top of Invictus Bantamweight division. People
Mhm.
kind of forget, but it was really kind of a resurgence. She was pretty much a guaranteed, not guaranteed, but she was a gatekeeper, early on in
Oh,
her
for
career,
sure.
not
Yeah.
9-5, and then really turned it around, went on that incredible 10-fight unbeaten streak, I believe it was. Um, so yeah, but Holly is just one of the most popular fighters out
Right.
there, so she's gonna
She's gonna
win
take
this
that
one
one.
pretty easily. But on paper, it's pretty close legacy wise, I think. In MMA specifically, if you're going combat sports overall, obviously that's Holly, but
Right.
MMA specifically.
Right. And then we've got Oh, we just did that. And I can't read today either. We've got Rose Namajunas and Jessica Andrade.
This one I think is the most interesting matchup. And I think that it really comes down to their fight,
Right.
right?
Right.
Andrade beat her. So I think that's the edge. That's really the edge that a lot of people think of that. Maybe more than, people liking Rose, because everybody does like Rose for the most part. I mean, she has some weird haters.
I know.
Um, but I don't know. For me, it just totally comes down to that fight. Like, you look at what they've done. Obviously, Rose's career is a lot shorter, less fights and all that. But I don't know. It just seems like they were both champion. They both didn't get any. Well, Rose did have one defense,
Mhm.
but I don't know. I just look at their fight. For some reason, that's the thing I go to here because I don't know. I can't explain it. You tell me.
Well, I feel like this one is going to be one where people are going to play into personality. And people who are going to say, well, I really like Rose. I think that Rose has a personality that is just really likable. She's very innocent and deadly and sweet and terrifying. And you just really, I don't know, there's just something about her. And I feel like that's going to be the edge. That's going to be the thing that makes people vote for her.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely a likely case there.
Yeah. And then we've got Weili Zhang. And here's another one. I'm going to try it. Miku Matsumoto.
Good. That's pretty good. Yeah.
And here's one where obviously, we've got a UFC champion who I feel like just because, again, the recency bias, everyone's going to know this person's name. What do you think?
Yeah, this one's similar to Kunin and Suji. I mean, almost identical matchups for the most part. I mean, Suji and Matsumoto both really, um, you know, legendary Japanese fighters for the Japanese MMA scene. Maybe not as recognized by the worldwide fan base or fans who aren't specifically just into the Japanese scene. And then Whaley, she's accomplishing a lot already and is a current champion, so there should be no doubt about it. I mean, people know Matsumoto, I think, less than Suji. So just for comparing these two matchups and those fighters, so I think that one's going to be pretty one-sided as well.
Yeah. And then we've got Chris Cyborg and GDR, Jermaine Durandamy.
I just wish that they actually fought.
I
That's what
know.
I wish.
Well, that's the thing is I put that on there because I was like, I'm going to do this because obviously I think everybody at this point knows that Chris is a very good friend of mine. That's a fight I really want to see still. I know that that's probably a fight she probably still would have wanted to do if she was in the UFC. I don't know. It's curious. What do you think would have happened?
If they
Especially,
actually fought,
yeah.
I man, it's hard, obviously to go against Chris, but I think it would have been really a really fun fight, especially, I mean, people really like to hate on GDR because of how everything unfolded with the, featherweight title and all that. But people, man, she's one of the best strikers, out there, like period. One of the best female strikers of all time. And we saw that in the last fight with Amanda, on the feet. She was winning every time that fight was on the feet. It was just the ground game got the better of her. That's always been her weakness because, she's got that big kickboxing background and everything. So, man, it would have been so fun. I really think it would have been such a fun fight, but Here we are. This is good enough, I
Yeah,
guess.
it's life. It's life.
And this is going to be a landslide as well,
Yeah, I mean,
especially because of the history.
yeah, I feel like it is, but you never know. I mean, people may, because as much as I feel like Chris is one of the top women in MMA, I feel like there has been some damage to her legacy. Obviously, we've got the performance enhancing, and we have just the whole thing with the UFC. A lot of people don't like how that happened. So that may play into the vote a little bit too. I mean, you never know. The fans are not like, we're talking about it from the standpoint of who deserves it more, but the
Yeah.
fans are going to be like, who do I like more? Not, they're not, most of them are not going to sit down and analyze like we're doing now.
I still think that she'll be fine against GDR
Let's hope, let's
though.
hope. If I got her excommunicated in the first round, she'll kill me.
Yeah.
And
GDR is awesome though. I want to say that.
yeah, well, of
One of
course.
my favorite interviews.
Yeah, and in fact, I saw her fight in Sacramento when she fought Aspen Ladd, and that was just like one of those,
Damn.
you don't forget those moments, especially when it's a woman and you're just like, that was
Hmm.
terrifying. And this is another one I should know how to pronounce, but I don't. Jingnan, yeah, I don't know.
Zhang.
Jiang versus another one I can't pronounce.
Issei Watanabe.
Okay, I couldn't say Watanabe. I'm gonna go with the first one I couldn't pronounce because I've seen her fight.
The
I think
panda.
twice.
To say the
Yeah,
panda.
I think that panda. There you go. I've seen her fight twice. I think I was
So
at
jealous.
both. Actually, no, they fought 3 times, right? Her and Angela.
No, just two. Just
Just
two.
two. Okay, so I saw both of those, and I remember when she beat Angela, I was like, "Good God, this was crazy." And then the second one was crazy too.
Two of the best fights ever.
Yeah, I mean, like I think we voted that the best women's fight or the best rematch or something. We
Yeah,
did something
the
with that.
best rematch that year. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I feel like just for me, recency bias.
Oh no,
What
I
do you
think
think?
that this one too. I like this one because it's two fighters who are, you know, not as popular as, let's say a lot of the other ones. Jingnan, she might be the most underrated one out of everybody. Honestly, she's just doesn't get enough love. And the first Chinese champion, overall, beat Wiley to that one by a year and a half. And he say it's another situation with her compared to like Matsumoto and Suji, a very iconic Japanese fighter. But that's to Japan for the most part. And Jingnan, yeah, she's still doing it right now. Got the fans from one supporting her. China. I mean, she's been around. She's doing it right now, so that should be a pretty easy one as well. But yeah, I guess it'll be interesting because Watanabe, she's got a pretty good following too. I think that she might have been more popular, than Suji and Matsumoto too. It's going to be interesting. I like this one though.
Awesome. I'm excited for that one too. And then we've got another one. God, there's so many people I can't pronounce. Ayaka Hamasaki. I got that one
Hamasaki.
right.
Yeah.
And Aaron Tohill. So,
So.
so I mean, I'm gonna go with Aaron only because I know Aaron and I love her dearly, and that's literally the only reason I'm voting. So let's hear your actual critique of these two women.
So Erin Tohill, she was a boxer before
Mhm.
getting into MMA, and then her MMA career was from was it like 98 to 2005 or something
Very
really early? Yeah,
early.
very, very early. Um, and I don't know. I think that depending on how many fans of MMA that also watched boxing or like hardcore boxing fans are gonna know about her, because I know that a lot of MMA fans probably aren't gonna know who she is at all.
Yeah, I
Hama-
agree.
so Hamasaki though, um, she's the best atomweight of all time in my opinion. One of the best Japanese fighters of all time. I mean, you could say that she is. I mean, there's Fuji too. There's the top two for me personally, and very popular. She's still fighting as well. Just lost the Ryzen title to Ham, who we talked about, or in the first matchup in a very close fight, fantastic fight, one of the best fights. But then Hamasaki also has been Invicta champion. Yeah, and she was on the Japanese local scene, of course. So I mean, she's been everywhere. She's won titles in every organization she's fought in. She should get the win here for sure. I think she will, popularity wise too, just because you know fought for a lot longer of a period and is still fighting.
Right. Yeah, and if you look at their record, 19-3 and 10-3, so obviously there've been more fights. Um, Aaron hasn't fought in a long time, and like you said, Aaron was definitely more into boxing than she was
Yeah.
MMA. And then our last one is I can never say, oh my God, McFarland and Jennifer Howe. And I know we spoke about this before off air, and I went to Twitter before and I was getting some names of people that the fans thought of when I said this, and a bunch of people said Jennifer Howe, and I'm new to MMA. I've only been in since like 2015. And I was like, who the hell is that? And so I did a little bit of research and I'm like, yeah, she deserves to be on there, but I don't know anything about her. And I know you were saying you don't know much about her. So do you feel like maybe that's going to be her downfall here? I mean, obviously against who she's against.
Yeah, no, I think it's similar to, Toe Hill. I mean, if we're to keep comparing certain fighters on this list, but yeah, I think they're in kind of the same boat, fought very early on. And I mean, really the first like wave of MMA, especially for the female fighters. So yeah, that's going to hurt a lot. I mean, she deserves to be on here for sure. If we're picking 32 people, yeah, you could throw her in there. I mean, she only lost to Roxy. She lost to one person.
To Roxy twice, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, yeah, it was a very solid career for what it was. But I mean, she should be on here. But no, she's not beating Alimale. I mean, Alimale, you don't really have to say
Yeah.
anything.
Well, it's also Alema. See, I can't even say it. I know what her name is.
Just say Alima.
Alema is the only one undefeated on this list as well. Everybody else has a loss. She does not have any losses.
That is kind of a crazy fact.
Did I read that wrong? Right? She's undefeated.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you are right about that. Yeah. Whaley has one, and even that one is questionable. If you saw Tom, shout out to our good buddy Tom Taylor, who did the interview with Meng Bo. Did you see that?
No.
So that was Whaley's first opponent, right? She lost her first fight.
Uh-huh.
But Meng says that was like a 2-round amateur fight, but it's on her official record. So Whaley could technically be 21-0 right now, technically.
Okay.
So
okay.
that's just a little fun thing.
Well, that's a good note. Okay.
Shout out to Tommy T, my man.
Yeah. Let's definitely give him the props for that. That's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
We got to try and get it made official now that she's undefeated.
Yeah. Well, that is our 32 woman bracket, and like I said, we're going to start voting tomorrow, which is Monday, and I will be on our Twitter, and there will be bracket there for you guys to vote, and then little polls. So I don't know. What do you think? Do you think the fans are going to get into this as much as they did the men's?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, you got to think about. I mean, yeah, it's the fighters are all pretty popular. I think the names on here are very good. I'm looking at it and seeing how many we picked, like on which sides, and I think it's mostly the left side, but we'll see.
That was accidental, by the way. You guys are always on my butt. I literally picked these randomly. I just took a list as we were compiling names, and then I broke it in half and put them like that next to each other. There was literally no like
specifics.
This person. There was like a few, like we rearranged a few just because they didn't feel right, but other than that, like we didn't do any like this person's better, they should be higher, they should, none of that.
Yeah.
Because like I said off air, if you're the GOAT, it doesn't matter where you're put on the bracket, you're gonna make it to the end.
Yeah.
Right?
Pretty much.
Thank you. All right, well, that's exciting. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for your expertise. And we'll hopefully have some more fun videos. You guys can give us comments on what you want us to talk about next, and we will chit chat all you want. And just be nice in the comments. That's all I ask. Thank you.
Positivity.